Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is a brand new piece of content streamed only on our IG, Twitch, and my personal Twitter page. And this is just a series that we want to talk about. There's obviously so many different content, but this full whole like mini breakdown will be going exclusively on members only. So Shikai Bankai members can watch this full thing, full breakdown on the members only channel, members only view. So just 99 cents and you get to see a Tower of God breakdown. But Tower of God, I've talked about it an extent. Lonnie has been locked in. He's surpassed me, and we both think it's one of the greater series out. And we think that it's going to be one of the best series once it's fully like unlocks its potential for an anime. Tower, you're ahead of me, but we're gonna kind of go season by arc, starting off with the prologue. But we probably I think it's best to not really go into spoilers too much, but we'll kind of allude to certain things. This is for like the casual audience to kind of get them on board while we're on the Tower of God journey with them. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when season 3 of Tower God's coming out, but I mean, eventually we can talk about the later arcs because Tower God's been out for like what, a decade now. So out like spoilers, but especially since the season 1 came out years ago. So
no, for sure. So how I'm thinking about it is each one of these things we do will allude to bigger thing, like pay attention to this without revealing a spoiler plot point.
mhm.
That way, you know how I'm sure you've done it. You watch someone do a review in season by season, so you want to kind of go like that's kind of how I'm thinking this will
Mhm.
be.
But eventually, when you get to like season 3 and stuff like that, we can make separate episodes for that because there are some big creators that talk about Tower of God, and we can just try to jump into that pool. But when we get there, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there, but live stream on Twitch, live stream on Twitter, live stream on Instagram. Tower of God season one of the anime, and technically season one on the webtoons too. It actually ended season one as well.
Mhm.
This is I like to call it just a prologue because this is setting everything up. So we'll kind of go through all the kind of setup, things that you need to know, and then the real story kind of starts from season two of the anime and on Bam's journey. I think the best way to start it is Bam and Rachel. I think that's the best way to start it. And after rereading it, I'm gonna say this, Lonnie. I think I've come to a very interesting opinion that Tower of God has a lot of great characters, but the characters that are like around Bam's age that he meets and influences,
Mhm.
the only characters I really care about their journeys are Rachel and
Coon.
uh, Kun is. Well, I'll talk about Kun in a second, and not Kun though, but was it Hansong Ja? Like Hansong, I forget how to say his name correctly, but the blonde dude
Oh,
that we,
okay.
yeah. And the reason why I'm interested in what they got going on is because their stories are don't need Bam for them to fulfill their stories, whereas everybody else is kind of, oh, we want to do everything in the best interest of Bam. And that's why it's like, Kun, what do you want if you're not helping Bam, right? So that's kind of what. Even though I like Kun, Kun is one of my favorite characters, but I'm more invested in like, why is Rachel the way she is? And then obviously him. We'll talk about him in season two, but Bam and Rachel, season one. How do you feel? How do you feel about them in season one?
Um, it's always until I die. Fuck Rachel. I don't care. No matter what. No matter what. I don't care what her backstory is. I don't care if it's the saddest backstory of all time. That's not how I was introduced to her, and so it's gonna be fuck Rachel regardless. Get the smallest violin. I don't care that she doesn't have any powers. I don't care that she sucks at everything. We've all guys. We probably dealt with a Rachel in our lives. They just suck the life out of everything. They just spiteful, petty. They don't know how to communicate, express their feelings. God, Rachel just reminds me like all my exes put into one. Like, God, fuck Rachel. Like, Bam, Bam is literally the definition of a blank canvas, where he can become anything. And I think that's also what's beautiful about him, but that's also what like kind of like turns some people off. Is because he's very consistent in terms of he just cares about the people around him,
Yeah.
and that can either be really helpful or really hurtful. Almost like Luffy. A lot of times, like because Luffy's just like he cares about like what he cares about. Consequences be damned, and that's kind of Bam as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like there are so many comparisons, and when I'm reading this, I'm like, I do think Tower of God. One thing that it does, I would, and we'll kind of get into a little bit in terms of like other aspects that they introduce. They kind of set up the world bit better than One Piece does at the beginning. But I will say the difference is I think One Piece's starting cast is much stronger than Tower of Gods. Because the only character that matters at the end of the day is Bam. Whereas One Piece, the Straw Hats matter collectively, led by Luffy and Tower of God. It's everything's about Bam, and I do think that could turn people off. But Bam's also a great character in his own right, but different from Luffy. He doesn't have that charisma, especially at the start, to really encapsulate people. And like, other than being a really nice, and they say this quite frequently, a lot of the females, and very handsome face. Like, that can only carry you so far. Uh, I agree that hey, when I watched season one for the first time, hated Rachel, absolutely do, but I can't help but to be so invested in why she did what she did. I'm so curious to see everything because it's not like she's a genius, and it's not like she hated Bam. She actually really cared about Bam, but something mattered to her more than Bam. What is it? And we
It's
like
getting to the top of the tower. She wants to get to the. She wants to be the one to reach the top of the tower. It's like her dream, and she feels like Bam is destined for that dream. We saw like in the first episode, she's like, "Why is it him? He's basically what she wants to be. She wants to be the one with endless potential and endless power, but she's a bottom feeder, and that's what makes her spiteful. Yeah, so it's like she cares about him, but he's literally living her dream, and she hates that.
I get that. And you know what's an interesting part about it? Because you see some other like side characters who just really wanted to climb the tower but just could not. Like, for example, when they put up the Shinsu wall, there's that one character says, I'm stronger than everybody else, but he just couldn't pass the Shinsu wall. And we find out, yeah, I abandoned my kids and my family to climb up this tower. So there is that level of desperation that comes with it. Like Ho too, he tried to kill Bam at the start because he wants to climb the tower as well. So I wonder if they're really just going to use Rachel as the embodiment of the desperation of climbing the tower, or is there going to be something else behind it? Is there a key part of Rachel's story that will truly help us understand not only who she is, but what the world is really like beyond the tower?
Well,
That's what I'm
I
curious.
don't know where you left at because like there's
End of season. Oh, you talking about where I left at in terms of the
yeah,
webtoon?
because there's like some not answers, but there's like I think it. No, I actually think it was in season two. Like it's past. It's before where you cut off. Like on the train or whatever, she mentioned Bam's mother.
Yeah, yeah, I know about that. She does know something about his mother.
Yeah,
Now, again, to what extent? Like, what does she really know about Bam? I don't know, man.
I know more about his parents than you do, so I'll just keep that to myself.
Fair.
But
I say I left off. Um, so I'm not gonna tell anybody the spoiler points, but I left off on a very crucial battle with as they were saving Bam's master, and
mhm.
then one of the family leaders showed up and confronted Bam and told him, "You got to do this," and then they try to set up a tournament about it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's where I left off.
It's the
And
ending of that tournament that is gonna give you some. Oh, this is a game changer. And
you know,
I'll just say, without giving any spoilers, it's definitely a cliche manga manhwa type situation with the main character. So you're just gonna be like, another one. So, but it's also another one with a twist. So it's a very interesting, very interesting twist. But what we do know, at least what you should know about now about his mother and father, is that the mother and father traveled with Jihad in the original 10 families. They're an original group. The father was supposed to be like as strong as Jihad, and he's kind of like he was also like the pseudo leader. Like, yes, Jihad was like the leader of the group, but a lot of people more gravitated towards Bam's dad. They were both in love with Bam's mom. When Jihad decided to close the tower, they're like, "Nah, we ain't doing that." She went with Bam's dad, and then they got murked or whatever.
yeah. You find out a lot of that in one in particular arc that's going to be very interesting when they're like on the train. So that can't wait for that arc. Can't wait for that to get in. That train whole train thing.
Oh, I can't wait for White. Oh, I can't
Oh,
wait.
yo, white. Well, let me think of a good equivalent for white. Grimjow. Grimjow, I think, is a good equivalent for white. Not in terms of what being similar characters, but in terms of savage villains
I
that
think he's a
become
lot more in
super
depth than
likable.
Grimjaw.
You said what?
I think he's more fleshed out than Grimjaw. He's a lot
No,
more
I'm
in
not
depth.
talking about depth of character. I'm talking about their archetype being savage villains, being a pain in the ass for the MC, but you're going to fall in love with White.
Yeah, like a
White,
Doflamingo, Grimjaw. Yeah.
yeah, one of those types. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So, yeah, Bam and Rachel's relationship will be very interesting. And I mean, you're supposed to hate Rachel. Like, legit, when I was reading the webtoon on my tablet, I was like, you know what? Let me look at the comments real quick. Everybody hated Rachel. Every single person hated Rachel. They do not F with Rachel.
Because who does that? Who does
It is wild. At the same time, though, to be fair to Rachel, a little context. She was manipulated into doing that to Bam because that was Bam's destiny. And this is also Rachel's destiny. Because Hedon wanted Rachel to do this. Because Bam needs to shake up the tower. He just do. He got to shake up the tower. So, shout out Bam, man. Move on to some of the other characters in the beginning. So I wanted to make sure I wrote down key character names because you're gonna notice when you go through the path of Tower of God, unless you're with Bam, your stories kind of doesn't matter. So that's why I was like, I'm gonna write their character's name and like what exactly what are they going to do? What is their story arc? Other than Kun, like Kun is the only one I'm like, yeah,
Well,
he still got something.
I'll say another character like that they develop a lot without him being around. Bam is Coon's brother, like Coon's little brother, the lightning guy.
Yeah, I would say that.
He gets a lot of screen time.
He doesn't show up until season 2. If you watch season 2, you probably already met him. But yeah,
Yeah, but like he gets a lot of development and screen time, especially like in season 2, like he gets a lot of solo fights, and then like throughout the rest of the arcs, like he's not really around Bam. He's like a part of that B team or that other team that like coincides with Bam, but like they don't really interact. He doesn't really interact with Bam.
yeah, I really liked Kun's individual story separate with Bam. Even though I wanted them to come together, Kun was more interesting when he was by himself doing his own stuff. Because again, he's only focused on Bam when he's with him. So in the season 1, Kun, we learned a little bit about Kun. We learned that he has a sister that was supposed to be a princess of Jihad. Something went wrong. Now they're alluding to something interesting. When I read the webtoon, I'm like, what are they trying to tell me here? Because they said that him and his sister had a weird relationship. So I don't know how weird we're getting into when it comes to Kun and his sister. Because they said they loved each other. What kind of love are we talking about? It's kind of suspect. It could have been. I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to tell me there. But Kun does want to climb the tower, and he said something very interesting to one of the other people of the Aguero of the Kun family. That Kun said, I'm going to basically control the tower." He said he's going to conquer the tower.
Mhm.
That's what I want to see from Kun, but I don't know if that's really his goal at the end of the day. So we'll see.
He definitely has like a lot of family stuff going on because like I don't know. I feel like with Coon's character, like it's more about what he's not sharing with Bam that's important. I feel like because that hasn't even like really popped up yet, but like whatever
Mhm.
actually like happened with his sister and with his family, especially with his dad, the head of the family, we don't we don't really know what happened yet. But apparently, it's like we all know like it's definitely significant, and I think that when it does come out, it might shake up him and Bam's relationship, or at least it should.
Yeah, I just need something else for him for his story for me to be invested in his story other than being a sidekick of Bam. Um Now, I would also consider Rack to be very individual. He actually is not like he kind of does his own thing, but his story is very surface level. He just wants to hump people. But he's fun. He's a fun character.
He is a fun character. You really gotta finish season 3 because Rack's getting more interesting.
Oh, more story around Rack?
A lot, but he's definitely he's gonna be a future game changer for sure.
Hey, you love to see it, man.
Him
He
and Kun, like they both like towards the tail end of that, like they get some interesting situational stuff. So it's like, what does this mean?
is it
So
independent of Bam though?
yes, yeah, no, Rack. It's like one of them's like a, someone's fighting Rack, and they're like, "What the hell are you? You're not what you think you are." You're
Actually, I feel like I remember something about that.
yeah. They've hinted at that a few times, but so spoiler alert or whatever. But I don't know. It's not really spoiled because I guess it's just Tower God lore. But after Jihad and them like conquered the tower, there are a bunch of ancient creatures that they like went back down throughout the towers to like annihilate. And like we see like some flashbacks and stuff like that where like they're fighting like these godlike creatures and stuff like that. And they're all supposed to be extinct.
Yeah.
And apparently Rack is either like a descendant of one or he is one and he just has no knowledge of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I legit remember now that you mentioned that. Yeah, there is something interesting with Rack. He's just not obviously his personality. He's not going after anything, but there is interesting lore for his character to explore different things. So I'm curious to see what they do with Rax. One of the most disappointing characters moving forward. Unfortunately, you may love this character in season 1, but I don't. I just don't. I expected more. That's Hots. I expected way more from
is
Hots.
that the guy in this that's always sleeping?
No, we'll talk about Lore a little bit too. But Hots is the one, the swordsman. The fact that you didn't even know who it was,
Oh, the
it's the
swords guy?
swordsman. Yes.
Yeah. Bro, like he's cool. Like he's cool, but he's not even like the coolest swordsman. That's White. When we get to White, that's like I don't know, but it's like it also he's I feel like they're giving him like the Rock Lee treatment. And like he just keeps on having to level up to like catch up to everybody. But like in all honesty, he's like a regular guy. He's a regular guy like that's trying to be a swordsman going up against all these god people. And when you see him against other gods, like the swordsman clan, they're like, yo, our babies are stronger than you. Like, like our children can do shit that you can probably never do. So it's like, how am I supposed to root for this guy when I just know that there's like a cap to his abilities?
And we don't know, like, he doesn't have anything interesting about his story. There's no good, crazy development. Like in season 1, he fought Anak to an arguable standstill.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also put up arguably for like other than like Endorsey, arguably the best fight against a ranker 1v1. And then ever since it's just I'm not saying he does have moments.
And
Trust
he
me.
gets stronger he gets stronger throughout the series, but it's like, bro, like I need you to have your and he did have like a little moment. I think it was like in season 2 or like the beginning of season 3. He did have like a little moment where he used that ignition weapon,
Yeah, I
but
remember. Yeah.
other than that, it's just like I feel like they try to like just throw him in there and give him like some significant time here and there, but it's just like it's the same thing. It's like he doesn't know how to get stronger. He doesn't know how to get stronger. He sees something or like his weapon breaks. He gets a new weapon, then gets a little bit stronger. It's like repetition. It's just like they're not giving him any depth.
Yeah. Hots. If you got stocks and hots right now, mellow your expectations. That's the best way we can put it. Mellow your
I think
expectations.
probably at the end of the series he'll be like some god tier swordsman. He'll probably like get a technique or a sword that no one else has or something like that. Like they'll I think they're gonna give him a gimme. They're gonna give him a gimme.
I can see that. I can see definitely a gimme. It'd be crazy if they give him white sword. I'm not gonna lie. That would be insane if they gave him a sword. Next one up. Let's talk. I guess Lorray. I don't remember what anything Lorray does after season 1.
I
I
just know
can't.
that he's strong. Like he's just supposed to be,
He's the only person that can use Shinsu coming into the tower. It was like, bro.
and he uses it easily, but it's like I just know he's strong. I don't know shit else about him still.
And he has a such unique trope. He just wants to sleep all the time. I'm like, why? Like,
But he's
I'm
also
rested.
smart. He's also like hella smart too. When you talk, when he actually talks, he's like low key like a tactician. Like he understands Sushri like really well. He understands like situations. But we don't get to see anything. And he does. You don't. I don't know. It's.
Yeah, I would argue I other than Coon and I guess Rack, Lorray, I was super invested in what he's gonna do moving forward.
I was like, this nigga's supposed to be OP. Like he's
Yeah.
clearly OP. He's just like he literally woke. We saw it, our introduction. He woke up, walked through the Shinshi wall, and then went back to sleep like it was nothing.
Yeah, bro. Again, put low stocks in Lorray as well. Sunwoo Nair, she controlled irrelevant. Don't even think about her moving forward. And then we got some more important characters. So Shibisu, I do think is a pretty good character. I actually like Shibisu. I do think he's also much more capable than I expected once he goes into like the tower. He's legit like a de facto leader. And he says they talk about a little bit about his story on how he lost something and he's like looking for something as well. But I wonder if they're going to pay off Shibisu's story or is he just going to be a sideline character? Because he's not strong like everybody else.
He's not. I mean, they might give him like a little mini arc or whatever. I feel like because like they do give him a lot of screen time. Like I feel like he might get like a little few chapters where like he has to actually get something. It might. I feel like whatever he's missing is gonna tie into probably like some main storyline. Like he needs something that they also need, so they help him out to get it. Like one of those.
Yeah, we'll see with Shibisu. And then obviously we got to talk about these two females. We got a knock and we got Endorsi. Start off with a knock. I don't remember because Anaka is obviously still kind of important to an extent. I mean,
So she's a princess that's not supposed to be a princess.
yeah,
So a princess of a jihad, like princesses of jihad, they're not supposed to have any relations with anybody. They're not supposed to date. They're supposed to be like pure virgins, basically under
mhm,
jihad. And her mother fell in love with somebody and had her. So she's technically supposed to be like abomination, get killed because
yeah,
yeah, jihad's too strong to have children on his own. Like his blood can't conceive because he's too powerful. So he gives his blood to strong females in the other clans. So he's not supposed to. The line's not supposed to stop there.
yeah. And also, just so we're on the same page, it's not like a sexual thing. Like, oh yeah, that's why I don't want that. No, he doesn't want his power to just pass to random people. That's why they can't just fall in love and have kids.
Mhm.
That's the issue behind why. That's the reason why the princes of jihad are not allowed to, fall in love.
Yeah, he can't have his own family, so like that's supposed to be his family. Like those are supposed to be basically his. I don't know if they're like his wife because he doesn't. I don't think he like interacts with them really. So
Yeah.
yeah, but no, she's technically abomination. So like a lot of people. So Jihad's family is after her and stuff like that. She has one of the 13 marches or whatever. She has the green.
She had it. She had the Green March. Yuri took the Green March.
Mm,
And then she said, "Come find me to get it back later on."
right. But no, she's a cool character. They haven't really given her much depth since season one. Like
Yeah.
they show her every now and then. I feel like the main cast, like I don't know, I forget the author's name. I think he has like a weird name that has like numbers in it or whatever. But after like I feel like they're all important, but like he's not like their main focus because like we see like Coon's like a big focus, Bam of course, and then like some of the other Slayers that will eventually we meet. Like I feel like they're like a bigger part of the story, and these guys are just kind of like Bam's sidekicks. So I don't know if they're gonna get big story arcs really.
Yeah, I think you can definitely argue Anok's story peaks season one, but at the end of the day, she still wants to take out the person that killed her mother. So eventually that'll happen. We actually meet the guy in season one, Ren, part of the like military force, and he can control anima, which is like controlling like Shinsu beasts and all that stuff. And he was obviously a big threat, of course. So I'm sure her story is going to revolve around taking him out. She wants revenge because of what happened to her mother. But yeah, you're right. She hasn't really done
Wait,
much
the
after.
guy in season one is the one that killed her mother.
That's what he says. That's what he said to Anak.
I'm pretty sure he dies in season three, and it's not by her.
Well, that's underwhelming.
I'm pretty sure
And
Bam kills him.
that's underwhelming. Oh, that's definitely underwhelming. But there could have been multiple people that killed her mother. I'm sure she'll probably have to address a princess that probably ordered it. I'm guessing. So I'm sure that's gonna be.
Maybe I mean, because like all the princesses of that family, like we've met.
The princesses of Ren's family.
Of the people that control the animas.
I forget
Yeah,
what did
yeah,
he say he
we've
was.
met all the princesses from that family.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm trying to help a knockout because her story is pretty. After season one is not.
Yeah,
She doesn't
they
really
have two
move on.
princesses and we meet them in season two.
I think I know who you're talking about too.
Yeah, the
I don't know.
twins.
Yeah,
Yeah, those aren't princesses that they have. So yeah, if that was the guy that killed her mom, he dead. It wasn't by. So I don't know I don't know what they're going to do.
yeah. I don't know what they would do with a knock. And then we got Endorsey. Now Endorsey's interesting. She doesn't do too much, but it seems like they keep on pushing this idea that Endorsey loves Bam and she wants to be with Bam. I personally hate that storyline. I don't want. I
How do
don't.
you hate on
Endorsey
Dorothy?
and Bam is disgusting to me. I'm just. It's not
How
vibing.
is it
It's not
disgusting?
clicking with me.
She's cute. Like he makes her calm. You know, like
I'm be honest, and this might be nasty. There's only two endings to Bam when it comes to romance. Ending up with no one
he's not ending up
and
right.
ended up with Rachel.
It's
So
not
that is the only two paths for Bam's story. No one or Rachel. I don't. I'm Dorsey. I'm not. I just don't see it.
There's no turning back for Rachel. There's no forgiving Rachel for everything that she did.
Hey man, it could be one of those twisted loves, man. Hey,
She's done
hey,
too much. She's done way too much. How
I
many times
agree.
did she try to kill Coon? How many times did she try to kill him or like fuck him over or like?
But is there any good and evil in the tower? Kuhn has done some terrible stuff too. Let's be very clear.
Yeah, but she's done terrible stuff to him specifically.
Hey,
If he tries to get with Rachel, Coon's going to kill that. Coon's going to try to kill Ben, and I
yeah,
wouldn't blame him.
but let's be real though. There's levels to this, and Dorsey's not close, not even close to Bam's level at this point. And even though she's a
No.
princess of Jihad too, but like,
But her and the other princess that likes him, the one that we saw in episode one,
I don't think Yuri likes him.
she has like a little crush on him. I think so.
I don't think so. I think Yuri just realizes his value because one of the things I might as well touch upon this as well. One of the things that she wanted from Bam is to join the group led by Yurik. Because obviously she wants to turn the tower upside down as well because she realizes how messes up with it. And she realized that Bam is one of like a special individual. So she wanted Bam to go to the 77th floor to meet Yurik. And so I think that's the extent. Even though she thinks like obviously all the women that meet Bam think he has a cute face. Like
Yeah, because she definitely blushes at him a few times, like quite a few times. Like he'll just
yeah,
be talking, and she's like, "Oh my god, he's so cute."
to be fair, every woman thinks he's cute. I just like everyone thinks he's cute. Bam got that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
On
He's
talk
gonna have to.
shit.
Bam is gonna have to get it with a woman that doesn't like him. Like that. Every woman he meets basically likes him. It only makes sense he gets with someone that doesn't like him.
It better not be Rachel.
And it has to be Rachel.
It does not have to be Rachel at all.
Don't beat
Rachel
the
needs to
support.
die.
She's not going to.
He needs to destroy. He needs to like walk her down, like how Mark did Conquest. That's how badly he needs to.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
B.S.S does not promote domestic violence, but in this
Right.
case, whoop that trick.
Nah, we'll see though. But yeah, I don't see in Dorsey and the Bam romance. I don't see that happening. And her character kind of stalled out because if it's just I like Bam, then that's not moving me for sure. But those are like the main casts that we learn about in season one. That a lot of them become pretty irrelevant moving on, unfortunately. And then obviously we talked about the 774, the Wall Huck song. That's the group Yurik is in charge of, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the group. And two rankers, the blonde head and the redhead, went up to the 77th floor to see that group. They also mentioned two irregulars. I think they mentioned a third one, but I don't remember. But two they for sure mentioned is the ones that messed up the first test. Yurik, obviously, and Phantomonium, which is another name that they mentioned in terms of a regular that messed up the first test. So if you're watching this, remember the names, especially Yurik Manzino. But
Yeah,
remember the
Pandemonium,
names.
we haven't met officially like face to face yet, but he's
Yeah.
supposed to be like as strong as Yurik and Jihad and all of them.
Yeah. And then obviously there's some Tower of God roles that you guys definitely need to remember, which I appreciate how they kind of break things up and kind of keeps it orderly. So you got the fisherman, which is a close combat fighter. You got the spear bearer, basically a sniper, scout, people who do reconnaissance, also helps out in fighting, light bearers, brains of the operation, and then wave controllers, people who can control Shinsu, and then a role that you'll see every now and then that are very important are guides that can kind of see the future, really can tell the proper path for specific characters that are important for the story. So these are like the important roles to pay attention to. And I think for the most part, they do a pretty good job in making it clear, like the importance of all these roles pretty consistently.
Guides are, I wouldn't say the most important. They're the most unique because they're
Mhm.
also the rarest. They only come from two different clans. They either come from like the witches or like the, are they dwarves basically? I don't know. I forget. But they either come from like the red witches or these gray haired men or whatever. The guy that we see in the first episode, he's that princess's guide. The witches, they can more see like certain paths and stuff like that. And the guys, they more see like probabilities, I believe.
Mm.
But they both know like the ins and outs of the towers. They know shortcuts to different levels and stuff like that. They definitely know like how to get to certain areas. They've basically been all over the map, all over the tower. So like they have access to wherever they don't really need to take the test. They just help people along. And fishermen are usually considered the strongest of the group, even though they're close combat. Like a lot of them kind of can do a little bit of everything. The fisherman's more like the more adaptable people that can just kind of do it all.
Yeah.
Jihad is known as the best fisherman of all time, uh, and he's the king of the tower. So yeah, and wave controllers. That's what Bam is, and that's what some other strong people are. I don't remember who the wave controller for Jihad's original group is. I don't know who that is for the family, but yeah, fishermen's are usually the strongest, and then light bear. I think light bearers are usually just like you said, like they're the brains of the operation.
Yeah, definitely pay attention moving forward. If you guys are watching or reading Tower of God, what people's roles are, because you can get a general gist of like what they'll be doing in the story and the type of character they're more than likely are. Um, the one character whose role did not make sense to me at all, and I still stand by, is Hots being a scout. That just did not make sense to me. I don't know why he wasn't a fisherman. He literally is a swordsman. That didn't make sense to me. Other than that, I think for the most part, they've all been pretty
I think it also depends on like what kind of shinshui you have and stuff like that, and like how you can what shinshui powers you have. So whoever his powers are just might be more scout like. But also
I
like you don't have to play your role because Kuhn's a scout, but he's a
he's
nat-
a he's a light bearer.
I mean Kuhn's a light bearer, but his natural position is a spear bearer. So
Yeah, especially considering who his family is.
yeah. So you can always just choose whatever you want to do. So
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of mixing. Um, and then obviously we got the administrators, which are like large beings that are in charge of each level or each floor. They're the ones who control the Shinsu at that floor, and you have to make a contract with them in order to use the Shinsu on the floor, which is a very, very nice touch. And the very unique designs when you go back and read them in the webtoon. So that's always pretty cool to see. Um, the basic of the Shinsu power system, I don't even remember them using these terms later on in the story, but the only thing they've told us is something called bang, myeon, and so. I'm not really gonna break those down because again, I don't remember them really using those terms much rest of the story. Um, but the best way I want to characterize Bam, which is why he was able to learn it so quickly, is think of Bam kind of like Sinbad and Magi or Yuno and Black Clover. Bam's kind of just like loved by Shinsu. It's just like second nature to him, which is why he can use it quicker than anybody else.
regulars don't need contracts.
You said what?
I said the regulars don't need contracts with the floor administrator or whatever.
Oh yeah, irregulars. Yeah,
I mean, some of them do have contracts for certain abilities and like things, but like they don't need contracts.
for sure. So yeah, moving on, Bam is going to be a very unique character in every floor that he goes to, and his interaction with administrators definitely pay attention to those as well. Um, and then we
Oh,
got
I would say, because speaking of the administration stuff like that, the most important part of the power system, I would say, is between like the rankers and high rankers and just the people below. What are the people below called? Just
regulars.
yeah, regulars. So
Mhm.
regulars, they don't have. I think like once you get to a certain level, I forget what floor it is. That's when you can start making hella contracts that really, really boost your power level. A ranker and a regular are two different playing fields. A regular should never ever be able to beat a ranker, no matter like how strong that regular is. So once you reach that certain level, like you get like extra century powers, immortality, different power boosts, different century abilities, all different types of things that just kind of make you godlike. Where regulars, they can use century, but they don't have these godlike abilities. So Bam being able to compete with some rankers and being the only one like in history besides one other person to like semi compete with, and I think it was like one Princess Jihad. Beat up, she like beat up a ranker, but she never beat the ranker. Bam eventually can beat a ranker. So the fact that he's a regular and eventually he's gonna reach that level of the tower where he's gonna get all these extra godlike abilities, and then it's gonna be GG's. Because once he becomes a ranker, he's gonna be as strong as one of the leaders of the 10 families.
Yeah, rankers are extremely powerful. And we'll kind of touch about like different things to watch out for. Kind of like how One Piece, you want to pay attention to the D clan. I would argue that Tower of God does it like the people you have to pay attention to is much more valuable. With how they kind of insinuate the importance of the 10 great families in the story because honestly they do such a good job in indicating the levels. The levels when it comes to Tower of God is crazy because I don't know from where I'm at, from where I stopped. Bam is still nowhere goddamn close to being as strong as a 10 family great leader. Not even close. So I don't from where Lonnie is, can't say.
Yeah,
But from where
he's not that strong. He's not he's ranker level strong because we see him fight rankers, but he's not a high ranker level yet because high rankers, I think with them, you're not even like high rankers. I think there's 100, like maybe 200 of them,
mm,
and they're not allowed to like travel between floors without alerting people. If a high ranker just shows up on a floor, it's almost like a cataclysmic event. Like you have the high ranker that lives on that floor has to be alerted. The administrator has to be alerted, and like it's like evacuation type shit because they can like destroy it. They can basically destroy a whole floor by themselves. So he's not there yet, but he's getting close. He's definitely getting close.
yeah, so they've done a good job in showing the progression of Bam too in the story because he has to go through so many power ups and so many strong opponents, and he loses quite a bit too, which is good to see. So things to pay attention to: the princesses of Jihad. Anytime you meet a princess of Jihad, remember who they are, remember their name, remember what family they come from. They're super important. What we move, who we got introduced to so far is Endorsi and Yuri. Those are the only princesses we meet in season one. Anak is not really a princess, kind of fake princess, so she wasn't chosen by Jihad or anything. So the only ones we know is Endorsi and Yuri. Yuri, I mean, if you've seen season one, Yuri's extremely powerful. She can basically no diff Ren, who was beating the crap out of Endorsi and Anak. So
Yeah,
those are
I
the
believe
first.
she's a high ranker.
Yeah, strong as hell. The other thing that very arguably pay attention to the most is the 10 great families. So I had to look it up, obviously. So this you don't know all these names in season one. So I just looked it up. These are the 10 great families. So anytime you meet a character that says I'm from this family, you kind of got an idea. And not every character obviously is from a great family. So just keep that in mind. That can kind of allude to, yeah, this character is probably more important than I thought. For example, Yeon in season two, when she said she's from a great family, pay attention to that. It kind of tells you she probably has potential. So we got Ari family, Kuhn family, which is obviously the family Kuhn's from, the Ha family, which is very interesting for a particular character we know. Two Perry family, Eurasia family, Popido family, Yeon family, Ari family, Lopo Bio family, and the Hendo Locke family. I'm glad I wrote this stuff down, man, because I
It's a
reading
lot.
it is. Reading Tower of God the first time, like I was just kind of reading. Now I'm really just going to be paying attention to these like details for these things in this reread. Um, and then the final thing, again, I'm going to compare this to One Piece. You know how we have like the great swords and everything in One Piece? Sometimes they don't do it justice compared to Tower of God with the 13 great weapons, because those weapons are super dangerous and they
Mhm.
haven't even been truly used yet in Tower of God to its full extent, which I can't wait for. So, 13 great weapons. You saw two of them at the beginning, the Black March and the Green April.
Mhm.
So, you also got the Silver January, White February, Yellow May, Luminous June, Indigo July, Blue August, Dark September, Red October, Golden November, Colorless December, and Rainbow December.
Oh, something with them that we're forgetting because like I think she talked about in season one. The goal of the Princesses of Jihads, they're all in competition with each other to collect all 13 weapons, and a lot of them all are. I think most of them are all holding like one, and so they're all in constant beef with each other to try to collect them all.
Yeah, that's why Yuri having two is such a big deal. Having the March and the April. So yeah, these weapons are super valuable and super important. If people have this in their possession, just watch out.
I
Just watch
think
out.
only one other princess has two.
I think you might. I think you're right. I don't. I don't remember obviously the name.
And some princesses are just missing. Like some of them are just missing with these swords, so we don't know where they're at or what they're doing. They're just MIA.
Yes. Season two, you're gonna meet much more princesses. I mean, moving forward, you just meet more princesses. Um, Well, that's pretty much all from season one. Obviously, in terms of the story, we see the Bam story. We see how everything happened. He's an irregular. He was very different from everybody else. Natural user. He went through all those tests, which is also very interesting. Pay attention to the tests, what the rules are, because it makes the experience more fun. And then he got betrayed at the end with a bigger purpose in mind. The betrayal was all done on purpose, basically, so Bam can get found by an organization known as Fug and change the tower completely. Anything we're missing?
Uh, Fug is one of the most interesting organizations that I've read in like a manhwa because they have like so many factions with themselves where it's like they're all it's a lot of self-serving and it's they'll be beefing with each other. They'll be starting wars with each other when they're all supposed to be their whole goal is supposed to be to take down the 10 great families. But they beef with each other constantly on how they're going to take down the 10 great families. So it's interesting because like it's like they're the resistance, but they do more infighting than anything. So I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a complex organization for sure.
because not everybody you meet at Fug is a good person. Let's be very clear.
Most of them aren't.
Most of them aren't 100%, and yeah, it gets pretty interesting. Later on with
To kind of
certain
explain like that dynamic, they're 10 great families and they want to like take and so certain people join Fugue to take out this family or this person in this family, this person in this family. And so if someone's doing something, they'll be like, hey, they have this weapon or whatever. Let's maybe steal that so we can kill this family, even though they're trying to kill this family. Or let's try to recruit this guy because we need to kill this guy, even though they're trying to kill that guy. And oh, they're trying to get this guy nominated for something. Let's kill him so we can get our guy nominated. So it's like I don't know. Like everyone just it's all I don't how would it what's another group that kind of acts like that?
um
Because I wouldn't say the Akatsuki because they all have one goal.
yeah, I wouldn't say really the Revolutionary Army either. Um Man, no, nothing. Like this is Fug is a perfect revolutionary like storyline group, considering it allows Bam to kind of do as he pleases with also being an antagonistic force to the looming threat that is the 10 great families. Which Tower of God does very interestingly is like it's not as simple as the world government is evil, and also One Piece is not as simple as the world government is evil. There's a lot of nuance there, but I think it's even more nuanced with Tower of God because there's princesses that suck, there's princesses that are good, there's leaders that suck, and then you're going to meet some leaders that are probably good, and then you got Fug leaders who suck, and then Fug leaders that are good. So there's a lot of nuance, and on the top of the castle, the one that everybody has to look to say, what are you doing, is that man Jihad, because we don't know what he's doing. We don't know why he does what he does. Jihad is an enigma, but he's also the strongest goddamn person here.
And it's a problem.
He
It's
is
a
a
real,
problem.
real problem.
So yeah, shout out Tower of God season 1 review breakdown. Tower of God, one of my favorite series of all time. I do think it deserves justice, and I do think people need to really lock into what Tower of God provides. Hopefully, the next season of the anime can do the story justice. Um,
Because the
but
train arc is so good.
it is so good. It's so good. I don't know where season 2 left off in the anime. I wasn't checking.
Maybe him getting the needle? I'd have to look. I think it's
Yeah.
him getting the first needle.
Okay.
Or
Well,
thorn. Or if you want to call it the thorn or whatever.
Yeah, thorn. I think they call the weapons that they use needles.
Yeah, so it's a thorn.
Yeah.
You got his first thorn.
All right. With that said, appreciate everybody. Again, make sure you guys tell everybody, hey, you guys want to get a Tower of Gods breakdown for the series? Then you guys got to watch this. Me and Lonnie got going on. Whatever the next arc is, by the end of, I'd say the next one will be the end of the training arc. So right, not the training arc, the end of the next test. Um, where Bam eventually comes around and becomes friends with his next group of characters.
I would say
So,
we should cover up until where he gets to the needle. So that would make sense.
Depends on how long it is. I'll
I
say
mean,
that.
it's all of season 2.
Oh, I'm not all of season 2 is
Not,
like.
not the manga season 2. I'm talking about the anime season 2.
Oh, okay. I'll check what the ending of season 2 in the anime is, and then I'll end there. So
Okay.
that's a good point. All right. With that said, appreciate everybody. Y'all have a good one. Take care and peace.